Hey everybody, this is Sid Sexton and my good friend Keith Kleins with episode 89 of the Overlap podcast. Good morning, Keith.
Good morning, Sid.
We've been together for a little while this morning.
We have.
And we thought, we had a couple of changes to our schedule with trying to get guests in and out. That stuff happens. But it just so happens that we already had some time planned to do some planning, right?
I know. We have planned to plan.
Yeah.
We talk about that a lot.
Yeah, so we should probably do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And
so we had kind of in our businesses we have a plan.
Yeah.
With the podcast, this thing kind of started from us just wanting to, share all of our knowledge.
Well, so it started with a vision and an idea of speaking to small business leaders, growth-minded people, and filling the void in the podcast space where most stuff, business-wise or growth-wise, is geared towards large business, like folks with 500 employees and greater, it seems like. And some of the stuff, it's good information, but it's hard to implement, and it's spoken at a high level where it just seems to not ever reach the guy or girl that's a solopreneur or has got 10 team members, and they've been at it for about 7 years and they just don't know how to break through. Hiring a virtual assistant to, and implementing the 4-hour work week, I don't know is the right choice for that person. It might be, but it just doesn't, it seems like there was a lack of content in that space. So that's where we started to fill that. And now that, is this year 3?
This is going on year 3.
I think.
Yeah, I think maybe so.
Year 2.
It's crazy to think that in just 8 weeks or so, we will hit 100 episodes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I think this is what you were saying, is that in our businesses, we operate EOS, we've got plans, we've got all kinds of stuff, but we haven't really pulled that together for the podcast. And we figured since we've got it rolling, maybe we ought to do that.
Yeah, we thought so. And what the first thing that you start with when you start implementing EOS is core values.
Yeah.
And I was just talking just a little bit ago on when I started my business. I didn't really have a plan for that, and I didn't.
A plan for the core values, or a plan?
Well,
plan in general.
I knew what I wanted to do, and I think you knew what you wanted to do when you started your business, but you didn't know really the values behind it. And I didn't start my business like developing out what are my core values going to be. I started my business because I just needed to eat.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's speaking of just starting out, you've got a new product, a new thing coming online, and have a very nice, well thought out business plan. Does it have core values in there?
It probably not.
No, it doesn't. I kind of breezed through. I was actually, and so I do think that I didn't start my business with core values as a concept. Even you didn't in your first one, and even now you don't. Now I say that to say I don't think you have to have them to get started.
I don't even know that you can get started with core values because your business morphs as you grow. I think you can start with an idea of what they are, but I don't know that I would have ever known how to verbalize my core values now.
Yeah.
15 years later.
So maybe there's the the loophole right there is that you don't have the verbiage for it when you get started. Maybe you're young, maybe whatever, inexperienced too, and you're just not sure what the core values should be, could be, need to be, whatever. But I do think once you get started, and if you've ran one business or 20, you really kind of understand what your core values are and sort of why you're putting yourself out there in the market. And hell, maybe that is you're just trying to make a bunch of money. Well, I mean, that's fine. It's just not going to resonate very well, but that may be a core value to maximize profit for shareholders or something like that, right?
But I can tell you, if that's your core value, then it's going to be a very empty feeling most days.
Probably because it's just never enough, right? There's just never enough money. There's never enough whatever. Why are you in small business? Go to corporate world. That's where you belong. I'm not saying that corporate people are bad. I'm just saying my general feeling and experience has been soulless, life-sucking, profit-driven motives in the bureaucracy of large corporate America.
Mine as well. I've worked for one publicly traded company.
Yeah.
And it was very shareholder focused.
Yeah, and there's good people in there. They just, they get strapped with golden handcuffs and they don't know how to get out and all that. But we digress. So core values, though, I think there comes a time in your company's life where I'm really kind of going off, and you can probably find this if you're looking for it. But like 80% of all small businesses fail in the first year or first 5 years. I'm sorry, and then after that, there's like another 80% of them never make it past 10. Maybe it's 90% of those that make it through that first cut. The 20% that do make it, well, out of that 20%, there's like 90% never make it to 10 years.
Which is why we kind of started this podcast to talk to ourselves 10 years ago.
Exactly. So there's the vision and the idea. We just hadn't verbalized it yet. But I do think that there comes a time in your business where you've made it over some humps or some obstacles, and you generally get to this point a few times in your business career or the development of a business, whether you're the owner and starter or founder, or whether you're a leader sort of moving up and helping your owner, your leader sort of develop out your business. There's going to be a sort of a turning point where you need to start figuring out what are you about. And the reason you have to do that, and here's really my message, is you've got to slow down long enough to figure out what you're about, because if you start to get good at business, then there's going to be lots of opportunities, but you can't be everything to everyone, and you'll just wear yourself out. So developing core values gives you focus, and with focus comes efficiency of energy, time, effort, everything.
That's not just in business, man. The overlap in life is
that's what I was going to say,
if
man.
you don't have core values, like personally, you may need to work on that too.
Exactly. What are you about? Because you can't be everything to everyone.
And just like in life, you don't know what your business is really going to be about until it ages a little bit.
That's a good point too.
Yeah. I mean, so you can't have core values when you're 5.
Well, and I think, probably not. But you can start to develop some core values after the first year. You can start developing core values after 5 years. You could be in business for 15 years and just hear this podcast and go, hey, I keep hearing about these core values. Maybe it's time.
And if you're in that case, it's a lot easier to develop the core values because you can just look back on the past and say, what difference have we made, and how do I verbalize that?
Yeah. Yeah. So I figured that's the way we would sort of start to guide this discussion now that we've laid the groundwork. and really I wanted to drive home that message that slow down. Take some time to think about this. It doesn't take much time. Keith and I did it in like an hour or less, and really got an idea of what we're about, and it's worth it because it really starts to help make all of the decisions that are going to come your way a little easier. Does this fall within our core values? Is this part of our core purpose, cause, passion? Is this what we're about right here? And if not, it's a no. So I thought we would just sort of have a discussion about how do you tease out those core values? How do you start to develop those, or at least start to verbalize them and get them on paper? If you are now at this point listening to the podcast, buying into the fact that you need to slow down and maybe develop those, if you haven't done so already.
And we're EOS fans and talk about it a lot in the podcast. And I've not found a better way to tease that stuff out than following what EOS suggests.
Yeah, it's a really good framework for developing out your business plan on one page kind of concept.
And I find that if a business plan is really more than that, it's confusing.
It can be confusing. Remember the age of like documents that were 17 pages with lots of words spelling out exactly everything that no one ever read? Well, they might have read it back in 1987 because they had a much longer attention span. But now we're living in the age of Instagram Reels and TikTok Reels, and McDonald's gives you dinner in less than 5 minutes. And, our attention span has just drastically been reduced. It's not a good thing, but it just is, right? So we need to make these things shorter and a little more concise. And isn't that the hallmark of intelligence? Taking complicated things and making them as simple as possible. I think that's the deal. So we use EOS, we use framework, we use 90 as a software to run EOS, but core values in general, how do you tease those out? Great question. I think number one, I think you do have to give it a little bit of thinking time. One of my things that I do, and I'm pretty sure I got this from our implementer through EOS, is we just set a timer. Let's just take 5 quiet minutes and think about our core values. And then if you need a primer for what those might be, what are you getting out of this? What really turns you on about doing this podcast? What are you looking to get out of it? That kind of thing. What's driving the need to develop content, the need to put out stuff, the need to carve out time in your day and come down to the studio? What are you getting out of it? What's driving that? And so if I think about those things, and I just start writing things down, and I start getting a few ideas, and then I start to develop a little bit of momentum after I've got 3 or 4. But here's the key, in my opinion: if you use all 5 minutes, because a lot of times the best ideas are those last ones, and then I start piecing it together, and I start taking some of this and some of that and some of this, and then I might get the thesaurus out and sort of, that's kind of what I'm looking for, but that's not the right word, and you find the right word. And
or either Chat GPT like we did.
Well, no, we did that for something different, and we were actually having discussions about Chat GPT, so it made it a little bit more contextual for us to try it.
But I've watched you over the last few years take organizations, your own organization, the gym. I've watched you in those meetings and stuff when you've been developing this out.
Yeah.
And I've been just super impressed about how you extract those ideas from the team.
Yeah.
And so it makes it really easy if you have a person that is leading the development of core values that can kind of see in a way to extract the information to build strong core values. And that's typically going to be the founder or
a visionary
of some sort.
Yeah, I can generally see it. I just usually have to pull it out of people, but I can see how to do it. And so maybe that's what you're saying is if you need to develop some core values, it would be helpful to, if you're not a visionary, get some help.
Hey, I want to talk about my friend Ross Sykes at Homefront Lending. He's a mortgage broker that can help you find a home when you don't typically fit in the norm and get you financed. Reach out to Ross at hflend.com. He specializes in mortgage products for first-time homebuyers, veterans, and self-employed borrowers. They are in the business to serve you beyond the transaction. At Homefront, they are always honored to serve. hflend.com.
Hey there. My good friend Steve Bousquet and his partner, Christine Era, the owners of Green Profit Academy, are super excited about a new product they've got coming out. If you didn't know, they're the authors of Profit First for the Lawn Care Business. And it's a book written by Christine Era. Steve plays a big role in sort of adding to that. But they've got that book. It's already out. But if you're an audiobook listener, and you just learn better by listening, they've got the audio version coming out. And I think this is really cool. They've got Christine Era narrating the audiobook, and she does a really good job. I've heard some clips of it. It's pretty fantastic. And Mike Michalowicz, the original author of Profit First, he reads the foreword. And so they've got a book launch that's going to come out on their website, Green Profit Academy, and you should stay tuned for more information about that. They're going to have some giveaways. They're going to have some other special deals going on. But the book itself, the audio book, will come out September 12th. So please be on the lookout for that. And if you need some help with Profit First for your green industry business, please give them a call or look them up, Green Profit Academy. Thanks so much. Okay, guys, everyone knows if you're a business owner, a business leader, or you're just a person in the world needing help with accounting, you need a real partner. You need someone that's going to listen to you and not just plug numbers in to make their job easy to do your taxes. At least that's what I want. I've been through a lot of accountants in my life, and I have yet to find one even remotely as good as Johnny Baranco. He's the owner of Baranco and Associates, and he's the kind of guy that really doesn't manipulate your books to make his job easier. He really is trying to give you insights into your business or into your financial planning world. Whatever your goals are, he's there to help. And so I just encourage you to give him a call. Baranco and Associates, look him up online. It's barancoandassociates.com and just see if he can help you. He really is the accountant that I recommend to everyone, even before he was a sponsor of the podcast. So please, if you need an accountant, just do yourself a favor and give him a call.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, because I think you and I both sit here being the visionary. That comes natural. Mm-hmm. But even with me, a lot of times, I'll know what I want to say, but I just can't say it in a way that describes it well.
Yeah.
And so it's always good to have someone that can pull things out and then put it together.
Sure. Yeah. I don't even know where I get it.
So do you know when you started developing the core values inside your organization in Sex and Landscapes?
It was several years ago. I will say this is started to develop a business plan probably about that sixth year, maybe fifth or sixth year. I started getting serious about it after the the 08-09 financial crisis. And, I'm sure we've talked about it several times on this podcast. I just can't recall when or what episode.
And at that time, you had been in business 7 or 8 years, right?
Yeah. Probably 6 years. 09.
Now, would
maybe
if
5
you could
years.
go back 15 years.
Well, this is after I lost a boatload of money and really was pretty devastated. That's when I got serious about, okay, I've read some of these books. I've heard some of these concepts. If they think it's that important and I keep hearing it over and over, I probably ought to do something about it.
Right.
That's kind of what got me there.
If you could go back, though, before that, when you just started, or when 2 years in.
2 years in, I would have.
And you could have developed this out. Do you think you'd be further along now?
I would have
than
been
you
further
are?
along, and I wouldn't have gotten hit. I got in trouble for going outside of my core niche. Or niche, however you pronounce that, and then getting outside of our not necessarily our comfort zone, but where we operate well. We didn't really have any experience, and we gambled big on something that we weren't real sure of, and with people that we didn't know in a market that we weren't aware of and had never really played in, and didn't know the rules, didn't know how it really went. And so we took people's word, and they're going to pay us next week, and payments in process, and drained down all of our cash in a time where we couldn't afford to do that. And then they just left town and owed a boatload of money, and I was done.
You shouldn't feel bad about that. I knew my core values and stepped outside of them knowing. And I've been bit.
Hey, I've had plenty of maps to get someplace. I've had GPS and still made the wrong turn.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But
so this is not a fail-safe to mean that you're not going to make some wrong turns, but it will help give some guidelines to stay in between where you can gauge that and know when you're stepping out.
Yeah. Well, in core values, if we're just strictly sticking to core values, it at least keeps me grounded on what I'm about. And that helps me, in my opinion. It helps me to stay consistent in my behavior, like with customers, with team members, how we're going to market. In this scenario in the podcast, who are the guests we're going to bring on? What is the content? How is it packaged and delivered? What sort of impact are we trying to make, and why?
Yeah, we've looked at our core values, just speaking of guests and disqualified guests.
Lots.
Based on that.
We've disqualified lots of sponsors.
Yeah.
Just because that doesn't really jive with what we're trying to do.
Which is hard to do when they're handing us money.
Yeah. Well, when we don't need this to eat, it makes it a little easier.
Yeah, that does.
So that does make it a lot easier. When you're trying to make a living and just eat, that it's easier to get pulled outside of your.
Oh, definitely outside.
So. Fear is a terrible. It's a terrible communicator. I don't need to get my information from fear to help drive my decisions.
So let's do this.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you some questions.
All right.
About development of core values. And you tell me your thoughts on how you should begin.
Okay.
And so when you're looking at core values or developing core values for your business, what's the indicators that tell you this is a good one?
So for me, it's almost like those tuning forks. You ever seen those? It just rings the bell. I just like, oh, yep, that resonates. That's it. And I'm generally going to write down 8, 9, 10, 11 of them. And all of them are going to ring at a certain frequency, but I'm going to cull them out or like whittle them down to hopefully 3, 4, 5 at the most. And they need to all make sense to me. And depending on what the product, the business, the service is, I might need to hit a couple of things. I might need to hit our team, that for me, especially in the landscape business, my experience was really liking landscape industry and then working in terrible landscape companies and then, just kind of getting shit on and going, man, there's got to be a better way. If I like it, lots of other people probably do, but they get out of it because they're ran terrible and they're not team member or team centric. They're more like, production driven and like, you ever heard of seagull management? The guy flies in, shits on you and then flies off. Or mushroom management. They keep you in the dark and shovel shit on you and then that kind of stuff. So in the landscape company, I'm very consistent that we're sort of team driven and we're trying to develop people and we're trying to give people an opportunity to have a career here. So there's one aspect I'm trying to touch. The other one is the customer experience, making sure that we are all serving them, that we're all orientated to know that we're serving instead of seeing the customer as some sort of transactional relationship, that we're giving these people peace of mind. They need a service. They're looking for it. We're going to serve them. So those are two separate things. Community wise or environmental wise, you can hit some things, but it all kind of depends. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think if I'm hearing you right, it's all about when you look at developing your core values, it's looking who you're serving.
Yeah. Who, what, how, something like that. Let's say you are you're a gym, right? Well, your core values are going to be, first of all, helping people transition from where they are to where they want to be, right? No one comes to you wanting to stay the same if they're going to come to especially a CrossFit gym, right? You're stepping over the line right there, buddy. You're not just doing Fit Body Boot Camp or Orange Theory.
No, you're stepping into the deep water.
And even if we dig into gyms a little bit, like Fit Body Boot Camp, Orange Theory, those are maintenance programs. You're not getting more fit. You're just kind of staying at the same fitness level. I'm sorry, people. I said it. Just, send the email to sid@sextonlandscapes.com if you want to argue about that. But that's a maintenance program. You're going to stay roughly the same. Now, if you want to start adding some weights to it, you want to add the cardio stuff to it too, then you want to add some gymnastics on top of that, you're going to change. You're going to be something different.
The class we were in yesterday with 40 and 50-year-old people walking on their hands.
Yeah.
There's no other place you go and that happens.
Yeah, you're going to be something different. So the person that comes to us is looking to transform. Now, they may not want to walk on their hands, but they want to be something different, even if they can't verbalize it. So our goal is to help them become the best version of themselves all the time. And if you boil it down, how do you keep them coming back? They're going to get the results as they keep coming back. So we got to give them the best hour of their day. That's the deal. Best hour of their day. We're here to serve them. If you're a coach and you're doing your workout, you stop and go and see that person that came in that has a question, because your workout isn't near as important as that person's questions or what they're trying to get accomplished.
So your core value there would be body transformation.
Just transformation
in general.
Transformation, right. Man. They start with their body. Here's another thing is...
it's not... So most people would say core value, help people grow strong muscles.
Yeah, no.
But no, it's not that. I mean, yes, they want to do that, but it's all about the real transformation that happens.
Help them be the best. Right. Help them become the best version of themselves by giving them the best hour of their day. There you go. There's a core purpose, cause, or passion. I can go on to that forever. But maybe you've got a I don't know anything about a a trucking company. And I don't know why I'm going here, but maybe it is to get your packages there, or your whatever you'd call, I'm going to say packages. I'm sure there's a better term, but get your packages on time every time. Why is that? Because people need it. That, like service, especially in the last couple of years, has gotten so lax and so bad that how frustrating it is when your stuff is 3 days late. You want to make sure that we're gonna figure it out. How do we get all of our stuff there on time every time? Maybe we even take less loads. Maybe we do whatever. Maybe we spend more money. Maybe we make less margin. Maybe it's more of a pain. Maybe we've got more drivers than we cared to have, but it's on time every time, something like that, right? And it forces you to then, core values forces you then to address the obstacles that you may not have addressed, because that's who you're supposed to be. You're supposed to get it there on time every time. Does that make sense? And like I said at the beginning, slow down, give this core value stuff some thought. It's important because it brings focus, and with focus comes efficiency. You know what to work on. In business, there's going to be 1,000 things to deal with, and it becomes overwhelming. But with core values, you can just sort that stuff out and go, oh yeah, that's not that important. That's not that important. These affect the core values. Let's address those.
And it really helps. And what I've seen you use it as is developing the goals for your business down the road.
Yeah.
Too. And in your personal life. I mean, in my personal life, the core values that I have for myself really dictate the goals that I have.
I was going to say that too. Now that we're sort of transitioning into the whole personal aspect of it, and this is really what the podcast is all about. Hell, we wrote it down earlier. Is that we are expanding all aspects of life through the lessons of business. And how do we come to this? Just from being business practitioners, we understand that becoming better at business kind of helped us become better at everything else. Not kind of, it did 100%. So you asked me, when did I start core values? Well, after we lost a bunch of money, right? And I had to get serious about it because I was digging out of a big hole, and it was either, do that and become good at being a business operator instead of just being a good landscaper. I started to get my feet back underneath me, but I was all on board on this growth train. So then I don't know if you ever remember, Michael Hyatt wrote a book with another guy named Daniel Harkavy called Living Forward. And I read that book, and it kind of changed me because it said a little bit what Stephen Covey or Jim Collins, I can't remember if one of them said, like, start with, writing your obituary and then working backwards from there and building out your life that way. But it did a good job of that. And I was like, oh man, I thought it was going to be more about business because it was Michael Hyatt. And it was really more personal. And I went to like a 4-day retreat and wrote it all out, boo-hooing all over the place. Who's at my funeral? What are they going to say? And all that stuff. And it started to change my life. All because I was trying to be better at business. And that really started to highlight core values. What am I about? And the core values came to me. I was going to say this is a little more advanced. Whether you're in business or not, what do you want people to say about you when you're gone? What's the story that you want them to tell? When I'm gone, I want them to say that I was about the team member that wanted a career in the landscape industry. When I'm gone, I want them to say that Sid helped me see that I could become something more than just a stay-at-home mom, or a mom with 3 kids, or a husband that used to be great in high school and now I'm 40 and it's over for me now. That
guy is awful to hang out with, by the way.
That guy may be all right. I don't know. I'm not going to say that. That guy may be okay.
You've been around the guy that talked about his high school highlights.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. So that guy's terrible. But the guy that doesn't talk about it, but really in his mind thinks
holds on to it. I get it.
Peaked in high school or college, and you're missing out on 6 60 years, 50 years of life. I'm trying to kick ass until I'm 75 or 85, you know? So I want them to say that Sid helped me see that there's way more to life than, you know, after 30. And I'm capable of walking on my hands or clean and jerking 250 pounds or doing 50 pull-ups or whatever, you know, and in doing so, it helped me become better at other aspects of life, you know.
On the last ski trip I went on, speaking of that,
Sure.
I was coming down the mountain and getting blitzed by this little guy.
Yeah.
When we got down to the bottom, he took his helmet off and he looked old.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, first I thought, I'm an awful skier. And then he and I walked to the valet and put our skis up. And I looked at him and I said, how old? I asked him, I said, how old are you? And he said, I'm 84 years old.
84.
And I said, you are my goal.
Yeah.
I said, I want to be on these slopes when I'm your age. And I said, I chased you all the way down the mountain and you blitzed me.
Yeah.
I was trying to catch up to you. And he said, it's just about staying active.
Yeah, man. I've told you about my friend David Huff that is like super, and he's probably 72. He didn't snowboard this year. But I usually do with him, and that's again my goal, man. That guy's up every morning. He does yoga every day. He meditates. He freaking helps tons of people. He's got a huge circle of influence, and he lives a great life.
And then he even became my goal more because as we were walking down the sidewalk, he said, I'll see you later. And then he walked into one of those ski in, ski out condos that was right on the level, the ground level, right there with the big windows that overlooked the lift.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, my goal even more.
There you go. Yeah, that guy's been successful in life.
Yeah.
So you asked the question, how do you tease that stuff out? How do you develop? How do you conjure up core values? And I think you really got to ask yourself, who are you serving? Why are you in business? What's it all about? And then, you know, for me, what are my experiences? And then what's the impact I'm trying to make? What do I want people to say when I'm gone? And I think that helps guide that and makes it a lot easier. If you're not a visionary and you struggle to sort of find that stuff, I think there's plenty of folks that can help you. You probably have a friend. Hell, shoot me an email and I'll try to help. You know, but there's lots of folks around, and if you're not on the EOS game, I highly recommend it. You highly recommend it. And you end up you can self-implement, but you'll probably want to get an implementer, and they help you walk through it.
Oh, man, when you meet our friend Forrest, he has implemented 90 in EOS in every area of his life.
Even his home life.
They have a L10 meeting every week.
Saturday morning over coffee.
It's the craziest thing
it is. And I asked his wife, I was like, so you guys really have L10? She's like, oh, yeah, I love it.
And I asked her, do you really IDS? He's like, if they have an issue in the middle of the week, he said, our L10 is Saturday. We'll IDS that.
Yeah, goals.
I would love to be able to tell Stephanie.
I'm pretty sure that's not flying.
It's not happening for me.
This now.
Matter of fact, I've tried that before. Let's talk about that later. Mm-hmm. That never works.
Yeah, let's talk about that when we are less emotional about it, and that's not what they want to hear.
If you want to hear a great podcast on IDS, which means
identify, discuss, and solve. It's really what EOS meetings are driven towards, is solving problems, identifying the core problem, discussing the options, and then solving it with a to-do.
Forrest and his director of marketing at AltaWorks did a podcast last week that's going to be coming out. We'll link that in these show notes.
Yeah.
And you need to listen to that. And then after you listen to it, talk to your wife and say, can we do this?
Yeah.
It's not working for me.
Yeah, let us know. I think Jordan's kind of halfway on it. She's halfway on it, which is shocking to me. She might have said it in one of those times where she was just trying to be nice to me.
Yeah.
Probably. So those are my thoughts on core values. What do you think?
Have them. That's what I think. Develop them.
Again, this is my main note: is slow down and give this some thought. Too many smart people have spent time and effort and energy and money putting out content about core values. It's important. You're not smarter than those people, you know. I know you want to get busy on doing the business of the business, but you're going to get to a point you need to slow down. It's important. And then with that, core values brings focus, and with focus comes efficiency.
And so you can see what we're talking about, I'll put our VTO in these show notes.
How are you going to do that? You just take like a screenshot?
Yeah,
of
we'll
it?
just take a screenshot of it. And then that way they can get an idea of developing that out and what that looks like. And
awesome.
And we'll even put some of the scratch notes where we started and where we finished.
Yeah, 90, you need to start sponsoring us.
Yeah, they do.
EOS Worldwide.
Well, they kind of have. So I'll also place that link in these show notes. And if you sign up, they'll give you some free stuff, and they give us some free stuff too.
Okay.
And so I'll put that link there. If you want to try 90, I'll put a link so you can go get a free week.
Good deal. What else?
Man, I think that's it.
Yeah. And
go see our sponsors.
Yes, please.
We're looking just got a new sponsor. I can't wait to tell.
And if you're looking to sponsor, reach out to us. We've got some new options.
We just also in our planning day went through our numbers, and I'm impressed with where we are.
I am too.
I think it's a great opportunity for someone to broaden their reach when they're trying to get their service or product out there. And we'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, exactly. Very impressed with the numbers. It's almost it's humbling, because you're like, man, I don't know how are there that many people listening to us. But then it's also maybe reaffirming that the idea that there is a market or a hole in the market for this kind of content, and it wasn't really being filled, and two rednecks from Alabama are sitting here talking with our Oklahoma and Alabama accents about business and the overlaps between that, and just throw in something real esoteric like jujitsu, it's kind of impressive.
And that we're huge in the UK right now.
I don't know what that's about. I don't know what that's
either.
about. Oh, well. Well, hey, thank you to our sponsors. Please go check them out. Thank you to our listeners. You really are the reason we are putting this content out. Many of you I haven't met. Many of you maybe I've met and whatever. But again, hopefully you'll remember me when I die, that kind of thing. And hopefully we're having an impact on your life and your business and helping you become the best version of yourself.
And another thing we've done is talked about doing a meetup. And we have someone that kind of wants to sponsor that. So we may put that together too. So if you would like to do a meetup and maybe just hang out, let us know. We would love to do that, and we'll put that together.
That would be great.
Peace.
Peace.